Good day, family. God bless you. It's the time you've been waiting for. That's right, Senior Talk with Clara Hubbard, your resource and information show for people getting better with age. Well, this is our special campaign season titled Senior Votes Matter. And one of the candidates for Illinois Circuit Court Judge, let me tell you, she busy. My goodness, she took her roller skates off today, got her hair all tight and cute. She is ready. She is the hammer. She is Meredith Hammer. Welcome back to Senior Talk. She's been with us over the last season, but let me tell you, she is here and she is telling you why she is running. Hello and welcome again. How are you this beautiful day, sister?
Hello, Sister Clara Hubbard. I am well. As you said, I'm very busy though, because I'm on the campaign trail.
Right. As you should be. And we are very excited because Senior Votes Matter has a lot of women that are really taking a stance in the campaign season. So March, we're going to turn it out. We got a big event coming up where we bring all of our candidates to come and greet an audience of seniors, and it's going to be awesome. But Meredith, let's just go back a little bit. You have a 20-plus career in this game, and it's not a game, let me say, in this field. But why are you taking a chance at this time as a successful attorney to become a judge?
Well, like you said, I have 25 years in the business. I started in my law career to help people. That's what I told my mom when she says, why you want to go to law school? I said to help people. So, going for judge, it's an elevation, right? And I just figure I can help more people. That's really the reason. It's the highest level, in my opinion, of public service, in my field, right? So, it's a lot of influence, a lot of power. Judges make decisions every day that change people's lives. So I want to be one of those judges that is fair, compassionate, but independent as well. I'm free from outside pressure, right? Pressures, right? As you know, in this political climate, judges are super important.
Yes, ma'am.
It's very important. And I think the current administration has made everybody very much aware of how important they are. So I just want to become a judge. It's looking really good. I'm running in a sub-circuit, right?
Yes,
a sub-circuit. And we can talk more about that, but I just want to help more people and just be fair, compassionate, and like I said, consistent, independent judgment from the bench.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I get tongue-tied is sub-circuit, Cook County clerk or Cook County court judge. And then you said, what is a sub-circuit? Please identify and define for our listening viewing audience, what is a sub-circuit?
So a sub-circuit is a geographic area within the Cook County borders. There are 20 of them now. I'm a candidate for judge in the 17th sub-circuit.
Yes, ma'am.
And that includes the southeast part of the city of Chicago, 7th Ward, 10th Ward, and then the southeast part of the suburbs, right? It's the sub-circuits were created in the late 90s to elect people to the bench who look like you and I, right? Primarily. So, but you have sub-circuits, like I said, there are 20 sub-circuits, 1 through 20 sub-circuits, and they're just the geographic boundaries are drawn. So 17 is where I'm running. You've got 19, though it's on the north side. 20 is on the north side. So, again, you have to live in the sub-circuit. You have to live within those boundaries in order to be a candidate and to get elected. The people who live within those boundaries will vote for me.
Right.
On March 17th, 2026.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. What is your strategy? How are you using your outreach and your message to get to the audience?
So, that's a really good question. Let me just say this. I ran for judge a few years ago. This isn't my first time at this. So I ran countywide. That's a whole nother situation. So you got your countywide judges.
Hold on something or another. Yeah.
Now people will be able to vote for, just so we're clear, countywide judges, as well as if they live in a particular sub-circuit, a judge in that sub-circuit.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran countywide a few years ago, and I always say I didn't win, but I didn't lose, because I built relationships, right? I built relationships.
Yes, ma'am.
And a friend of mine, of you and I, a close friend of you and I's, who was a mentor for me, encouraged me to do that a long time ago. And so that's how I live my life. That's how I run my campaign. And so as a result of that, I started running a year ago.
Yeah.
We couldn't announce until March 16th last year. So I started running. But really, I've been running for a long time because I built relationships. So my strategy was, and will continue to be, to build relationships, to help people. I have received endorsements because I built those relationships and helped those people who live in the district, from all of the mayors in the south suburbs, from Mayor Polk of Burnham to Mayor Don DeGraff of Southland. I've received endorsements from Chicago Federation of Labor. We can talk more about that, but also the Independent Voters of Illinois, IVIPO, all the committeemen, Committeeman Harris of Thornton Township, Committeewoman Monica Gordon, who's also the county clerk, and Committeeman Bernard Alsbury, who's the committeeman of Bremen Township, and then Monica Gordon is the committeeman of Bloom Township. So I've received over 24 different endorsements from various elected officials and then Alderman and Committeeman Greg Mitchell from the 7th Ward, which is where I currently live in the city of Chicago. So I say all that to say I built those relationships over time. That was part of my strategy.
Yes, ma'am.
To to strengthen my campaign. And so when it came time for me to announce and to seek their endorsements, all of them happily gave them their endorsement to me, but also their support, right? It's one thing to say, I'm endorsing you. It's another to say, I'm going to get some people to help you,
right.
Pass out some palm cards. Or I'm going to invite you to an event where you can speak, and tell people more about you. So I just built relationships. That's been a huge part of my strategy. As you know, to run an election, a campaign, it costs money. So, that was another part of my strategy, was to, build my campaign coffers up, because this ain't free, right? This is not a free endeavor.
So let's do this. I want to take a video that we created expressing your intent to serve. And it's very detailed, I'm telling you. And the words were to me, so humbling that I think the audience needs to hear this. Everyone stay tuned. Oh, wow. Okay. I lost a cool point. I'm gonna find a video. I have the video. I will add it to this broadcast.
Okay.
Let's just put up the punch card, if we would. This card here. Let's talk about this young lady here. She busy.
What do we know what to do? Punch 142, Meredith Hammer for judge.
So this is where we can identify the sub-circuits. When you mention that,
yes,
you have Burnham's, Calumet City, Chicago Heights, East Hazelcrest, Phoenix, South Village, South Holland, Stager. That's a big to-do. So
and Chicago, the city of Chicago.
Chicago, that's right. That's right. So let me get this done. How do you want to express to the older population? Are you making them a part of what you're doing? Are you engaging them at this
Absolutely.
time? Okay.
Absolutely. Seniors are very important to the electorate, and to my campaign, and to, everything that, all of the candidates do, not only the judges, because for one, they're engaged, right? and they vote, right? So for me, it's very important to connect with the seniors. They have a lot of wisdom, and I say I've got 25 years in this, and I say I'm not a pretty young thing anymore. I'm still cute,
Yeah.
but I'm not young anymore.
Hey,
So
cute gets it done too. If the message is there, cute gets it done. No,
cute
don't.
gets it done, but I say that
Yeah.
because there's a lot of wisdom that comes behind it. So the seniors are hugely important to me because they too have the wisdom. So I believe that the courts need to meet the needs of the community. So
Mhm.
I'm constantly talking to people who have more wisdom and then live longer than me, right? So
Right.
that seniors are super important. I've attended many different senior events from the Seventh Ward all the way down to, like I said, Thornton Township and Stager and South Holland and Lansing, and I'm all over the
Yeah.
place. I primarily practice in probate. That's what I've done for
Ah,
years, and
that's what
so
I was. There we
I
go.
do a lot of, and I've done a lot of estate planning seminars across the county.
That's important. We
And
need that.
we need that.
Yes,
And,
ma'am.
I try to talk to people, seniors especially, because they're getting along in their lives and they need to do what I call succession planning. You
Mm.
know, I
Yes,
want
ma'am.
them to plan for the afterlife. So that's what we did for my mom, right?
Yes, yes,
So
ma'am.
when my mom became ill, in 2002, she was diagnosed with leukemia, and the doctors told her she wasn't going to live more than 18 or 19 months. And I said, no, no, no. If she going to live 18, 19 months, it's going to be the best time that we ever had. So I was living in DC at the time because I moved to DC. I'm originally from Indianapolis. I moved back home to Indiana to care for her. So I lived with my parents for a year. And of course, she didn't die in 18, 19 months. She lived a very long time. She ultimately succumbed to, she had a heart attack and passed away in
Mhm.
2019. But I say we had planned for everything. I had set up everything, a trust for her. And so while oftentimes families who don't do that, don't plan, they experience when a loved one passes away is very chaotic. It sends families into crisis, and the siblings and people are fighting.
Yes.
That's what I get, when people don't plan. But for us, it brought us closer together. I was shocked, right?
Yeah.
We everything. There was a book, there was a binder. My dad, in the midst of us crying, and like I said, she died unexpectedly. She had a heart attack.
Mhm.
We Everything was arranged. Her funeral, everything was arranged and paid for. So we had planned. She had done succession planning and planned for the afterlife. So it actually brought us closer together as a family.
How about that? I
Yeah.
am so excited you said that, and we have something coming up. We're going to bring it to the community probably in May for Older Americans Month. You know, I know we seniors are getting better with age and they having active lifestyles, but the inevitable is the inevitable, and we have to be prepared. We, like you said, we become stronger. And I will
Yes.
agree with you. The first time in my life when we had seen this is my grandmother. My grandmother had everything planned. Her attorney. It was so simple. All we had to do was just take the paperwork to the appropriate places that were caring for her, and it was done well. And I actually went to a reading of the will.
Oh yeah. Well.
Oh wow, it was such a light bulb, and it was just we couldn't argue, and
Yeah.
everybody had an understanding when it was done. I think that's so
Well, I would
important.
love to attend to be a part of that because
Yeah.
so as a judge, right, I won't be able to help people like that in that way.
Hmm.
But so often people don't plan. So, when they come into the courtroom, it's just a crisis, situation. And here in Illinois, unfortunately, I just don't believe we do
Right.
a great job of helping families who are in crisis during that time navigate the process smoothly
Yes, ma'am.
and as efficiently as we can. So I aim to do that. There's some ways that we can do it, some resources that we can use better,
Hmm.
right, and improve upon here in Illinois. That's part of my platform,
I
which
love it.
is I call it access to justice reform, because it really is an access to justice issue, right? If
Hmm.
you're caught up in probate for years and having to spend all this money on lawyers and fighting. Nobody gets wealthy except for the lawyers. So for me, my experience with my clients has often been we're in Illinois
Yeah,
because I'm licensed in Indiana too.
that's what I was going to mention
And
earlier. Go
the
ahead.
Hoosiers do a little bit differently over there. And so I've experienced comparatively, a much simpler and smoother and less time consuming and less chaotic process in Indiana. So I am, because I am licensed there and I practice there still in Illinois, and I'm also licensed in the District of Columbia because I lived there for a couple of years before my mom got sick. I can see how things are done differently and how we can do some things better, right?
I think that's great, as you mentioned, multi-state understanding.
Yes.
You can bring that knowledge. That's a
And we're
good
going to bring the best practices to
right.
what we're going to do here. And as a judge, I'm going to have complete control over the courtroom, and I can change things and, of course, not change the laws, but, it's not going to take anything from me to use what we call the Odyssey case management system and
Absolutely.
technology, which is where my background is in computer science and software development. I have a degree from Purdue University. And when I graduated over 20 years ago, almost 30 years ago now, I can't even believe I'm saying that, from Purdue, then I got my law degree. People didn't know what to do with me. Well, nowadays, since the COVID, and technology, virtual hearings have become super important. It's a way that we can use them in the courts. It's less time consuming. I don't have to get dressed to go downtown as an attorney to pay $17.50 to park.
Tell the
And
truth.
neither do my clients, right?
That's
So it
right.
becomes like, but we don't use it. We don't use that form of appearance in court here in Illinois as much as we could. They do it all day long in Indiana.
Exactly. I think you brought up a great point. I know even with some other elements of service, you're more comfortable in your own home.
Absolutely.
You
You're
know,
more comfortable.
and it's less intimidating at some
You
point.
don't have to take off work.
Yeah.
You don't have to take off work. You don't have to hire a babysitter. It's just, but it's something that, like I said, I'm telling you, I had a family member, I opened probate, because even if you have a will, you still have to go to court versus a trust, right? Open probate for her deceased husband in September. We're closing it at the end of next month. We're closing probate. It's unheard of, right? In Indiana, I had a client. We opened probate. It's same simple estate. There was a will in 2023. I still haven't closed it. We're probably going to close it at the end of next month too. But it's just the differences of we couldn't find the will. I had to go in person to open probate. If I didn't have the T crossed or the I dotted properly, the judge kicked it out for another 2 or 3 months because our courts are so clogged in Illinois with all kinds of cases, right?
Right.
From probate. And then for me, my clients, because it takes so long, we're in probate. Well, the house, probably has a mortgage on it, right? So the mortgage falls behind.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So then we end up, in addition to being in probate, we end up in chancery court, which mortgage foreclosure, right? So I do that too. Then that again, we're taking so long, and this my client went through took 3 years. House falls in disrepair. So we also in housing court. So I'm fighting in 3 different courts, having to charge my client. I try not to charge as, I try to get it done as quickly, as efficiently, as less time consuming as possible, and as less costly as possible. But so, we end up in 3 courts.
Wow.
Typically.
Let me ask you this. We're going to get more on the campaign, but you hit a pivotal point right now. A lot of us have parents who are aging in, as we say, aging in, and we need to have the conversations.
We need to be having those conversations.
Is there a softer ear or softer way to get us prepared to say, yeah, we need to use our family time make it more valuable? What would you say?
That's what I would say. We need to have those conversations with our family members because, and set up an estate plan. It doesn't have to be, morbid. We're talking about planning for the afterlife. I started doing it with my family a long time ago. We were talking business. We talked about it, at Christmas time. We had those conversations. So because we started having those conversations, we made it less morbid, less sad, and more about the family business, right?
Yeah,
Because that's really what it is. The
that's it
family
right there, the
business.
family business. I
It's the
like it.
family
We're
business.
gonna coin that term, the family business. But you know what? Let me say this. You are so 100% right. I remember my aunt said, let's just write it down and plan to live. That's it.
That's what it is.
And it's a scary topic. You just get some people
It
get it's
seems to be.
uncomfortable right away, but it's going to be so worth the value and the stress, the less stress part of it, of your family having your understanding and your wishes locked in. It's nothing more
I
valuable than
can't
that.
tell you how valuable it is, and it's emotional, but it's really a healing process too. I mean, my mom, would tell me, let's talk about this. She had gotten to the point where she said, let's talk about this, not
Mhm.
only for her, but for my dad. I'm 55, for me,
Right.
my sisters, my brother, and their families. Like I said, my sisters, one of my family, my sister's husband passed, and so we took care of that, as well. So it's the family business,
The
and
family,
we
I love
just
it. I
should
love it.
do what is called succession planning.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a
Yes,
plan,
ma'am.
right?
That's the
And you're
plan.
just
Yep.
having a conversation. It doesn't take that long. I have clients that I just recently took on. Their mother passed a year ago. They don't know what to do. They're grown people. They don't know where anything is, any other paperwork. So it
Hmm.
makes it very difficult,
Yes.
right? And it's sad to say a
Yes.
lot of the judges just don't understand that, right? That part
Mhm.
of it, because they haven't lived it. I always say our lived experiences inform the decisions we make, especially on the bench, right? So if
Mhm.
you haven't lived that, if you've sort of had the pleasure of a privileged, lifestyle, and you haven't lived this and had the experiences, you just won't understand it. So, you're in some cases they're harsh, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of times the people, my clients, they don't want to be in the courtroom. So they let, the state languish for many, many years after the person has already passed away. And,
Mm.
and it becomes harder and harder. Ultimately, the property like falls behind on the mortgage payment, and ultimately it takes a minute, but ultimately the property is lost. The real estate is likely the biggest part asset in the estate, right? We
Mhm.
want to keep that. God ain't making no more land. You know what I mean? So if we have real estate that our parents have worked, families have worked so hard to acquire and to keep us with some form of wealth, why not keep it? Why not try to at least keep it, or even sell it and make some money off of it? You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
then do
Have
some other
options.
things and have some options, right?
Yeah.
But we a lot of the times just let it languish, and then we'll lose it.
Mm.
Any kind of investment stuff. So we start getting into, like I said, the family. It's the family business.
The family
It's,
business.
that's really
I love
what
it.
it is.
But let me ask. Okay, here we go. We're going to get back to the campaign.
I know. So
What?
I hear you.
No, no, no. I'm just asking. We're going to revisit that because I said we're going to revisit it for older
Yeah.
Americans, but in May, and just put a campaign. Maybe 50 families join us to get the locked in and be prepared. We're going to start small
Absolutely.
and grow from there. That's what I'm working on for May. And Attorney
Awesome.
Hammer, judge soon to be, will be somehow
Well,
off.
so here's what's gonna happen. I'm once after March 17th, and I win. I won't get sworn in until December 2nd.
Oh, good.
Yeah, 'cause I still got to
All
go
right.
through the general election
Yes, ma'am.
in November. But typically, the primary is the most important part about the judges, because we run as we choose a party, right?
Mhm.
To run in, and then typically, after the primary, there's no I'm running as a Democrat. There's no Republican or other independent candidate, right? So
Mhm.
once I win in March 17th, I'm just hanging out until, well, I'm gonna be working very hard.
You still gonna be, you
I'm
still
gonna
gonna be
take a
working.
month off
Okay.
and for a month, then I'm gonna get to work. But then I
Absolutely.
would get sworn in December 2nd, and then that's
Fantastic.
when I will be on the bench. So we got some time to do some more seminars, and I've got some other people that I've been training up, and
Yes.
County Clerk Monica Gordon does a fabulous job of this property after death seminars, right?
Oh,
That's
she's
what
phenomenal. We need her. We
that's
love
what
her.
Karen Yarborough
Yeah.
used to do. I was on the panel with Karen Yarborough,
Respect and love
who did
Karen.
me too, who started those property after death seminars
Yes.
to just talk to people about what they could do to as far as the succession planning. So Monica Gordon still does that, and like I said, she's endorsed me as the committee woman. And so, I don't mind talking about this because, like I said, my platform is access to justice reform. And so this is all a part of that. This is my campaign, right? It's about helping people, right? That's what it is.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, what are your top 3 things you want to tackle when you are elected? What is your strategy? What are the top 3 things that are on your books that you would like to see more proficient in the court system or in the 17th sub-circuit?
Yeah, so even though I will be voted from the 17th sub-circuit, I will be a full circuit court judge, right?
Right, yes,
so my primary area, as we've discussed, is probate. I want to tackle the probate courts. I have some numbers. I don't have them readily available, but there are thousands of cases that come into Cook County in probate every year, new cases every year. And like I said, it is shameful that they languish in there for 2 and 3 years, right? It is, it's shameful. And then oftentimes people lose their homes. We've got to get a handle on that.
Yes,
We're not going to get less cases. People are going to continue to transition and pass, and families are going to be thrown into crisis and chaos. So that's my top priority. Is day one, we're going to start using the Odyssey case management system. I used it as, I've worked in the clerk's office and served the last 3 clerks. So I'm we helped implement the case management system. It's in a few years ago. It's the same system that we use in Indiana. Same system, but we just don't use it as well. The taxpayers in Cook County pay $40 million for this system, and we just don't use it well enough. I think for one, attorneys tend not to be technology inclined, and therefore so do judges, right? Yeah. So my day one, we changing all that in my courtroom, right? Of course, I have to work with the chief judge, and the presiding judge. I'm not going to be none of that. I'm just going to be a judge, right? But I have some really good ideas and some know-how and knowledge about how to make some changes that would improve the courts, particularly within probate. And maybe even like chancery, like I said, in mortgage foreclosure, because I do that as well, having practiced and done real estate law.
Well, let me say this to you. What I do appreciate, having known you for some years, when you knew you were running, you were the first candidate to call me.
Yes.
And that was important, to trust our source and our tools here at Senior Talk with Claire Hubbard. But also, there is an empathy that you can have that some people won't have.
Right.
And that is going to be key.
Yeah, like I said, lived experiences.
Yes, lived experiences. Yes, ma'am. It's going to be a light bulb. So you are endorsed by several people, and you got more work to do. We are under 30 days almost.
Yeah, definitely. March 17th, early voting starts next week, and I'm going to be down at Cal City every single day of early voting. That's the early voting spot for when people come through. And I could use anybody's help. If anybody wants to help me, they can go to they can send me an email.
Her website is flashing at the bottom of our screen. Meredith Hammer, 4 Judge, FOR, not the number 4 Judge. That is her website. You'll find her more on Senior Talk with Claire Hubbard under Senior Post Matter, our campaign. But let me ask you this as we close out. I always ask every candidate, what is that campaign song that cheers you on to keep going? What's your campaign song? Have you selected one?
It's hammer time. You know what? It's hammer time. It's hammer time. I have the shoes to prove it. I'm dancing half the time. Right. People remember that my face isn't gonna be on the ballot. My name. People ain't gonna remember my first name. It's hammer time. And then the second one is too legit to quit. So all right, I'm not quitting. I'm not stopping. When I get on the bench, it's still hammer time. Right?
Absolutely.
It's hammer time.
Well,
so
let me tell you, you have been a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much that we have had a chance to get together. You've been proficient and just working with us, and it's a pleasure to have you on board with our outlet. We got events coming up. Everyone's go to Senior with Talk with Claire Hubbard. No, go to Senior Talk Media / Senior Votes Matter. Her campaign information is there, punch card, her history, her record, her strength of what she is doing is coming forth. All the platforms on social media is coming and has been posted already. And we got a big event coming up on March 4th. We can't tell the public about it, but we're going to do a senior stepper set, and we're going to show them why Senior Votes Matter with all of our candidates in one room. Everyone, thank you so much to our candidate right now, Attorney Meredith Hammer. She is running for Cook County Clerk Court Judge in the 17th Sub-Circuit.
Yeah.
I got that done. All
Remember
right.
it's hammer time.
Remember it's hammer time. You know what to do.
Punch 142.
You are awesome. Thank you so much, dear.
Thank you so much.
Safe passage on this trail. It's real out here. Safe passage on this trail, and stay safe. And I will keep you in prayer. And thank you so much for making us a part of what you do. And God bless everyone. We'll see you next time for See You Talk with Claire Hubbard. Everyone, take care.